Hi, welcome back to New Day, New Way. I'm Anne-Marie. Welcome to today's offering, episode, whatever you want to call it. I promised you a little bit of a deep dive. We're going to talk about bulimia nervosa and recovering from that. And I'm going to tell you first some facts and figures, then a little bit about why I know anything about this at all, a little of my story. Hang with me. We'll be right back. Hi, so this segment is called Healing You, Part 1, Healing from Bulimia Nervosa. You may not think that you can, if you're like me, and it's been going on for years, but yes, you can. And after this little segment, we're going to talk more about that. Healing begins and ends with you. Bulimia nervosa is a chronic but treatable condition. And before we address a couple of myths, let me just say this. It's chronic because it's ongoing. We have to change things about our brain patterns and how we think. Sounds complicated, but really isn't. It's basically going to come down to several things I'm going to talk about after this little presentation, but if we can change our brain patterns with regard to ourselves, then healing can begin, and treatable we'll get to in just a very few minutes. We're going to address a couple of myths, and there are myths surrounding most everything. I've heard some of the most unkind things about bulimia and bulimics. People with bulimia nervosa brought it on themselves and keep themselves sick on purpose. I can't imagine, and have never come across in all of my travels, anyone who wished to have bulimia. Let's be serious, for just a minute. It's a condition that takes us over rather slowly, and at first it seems like a welcome relief for the stress that we're going through and what we just did, which was to binge. Feels like justified punishment for our body because for whatever reason we feel like our body has betrayed us or someone else has betrayed us. And the one thing we can control is us inside of our body. Nobody wishes for this to happen. Although at first, like I said, it can seem like a balm, it can seem like an answer. It very, very quickly becomes very, very scary. So we're going to call false on that, my own experience, as well as experiences shared with me. I can emphatically say no. There is no one I have come across who would wish this on even their worst enemy. It's insidious. It's something that takes root and does not let go. You have to fight it every step of the way. It's every single day, and then and then some. So nobody wishes for this. The sneak attack, we're all very very familiar with the sneak attack. It usually begins as an extreme lashing out, a release of a trauma, a buildup from the day, an inability to cope with whatever. Maybe you had a bad incident with the person you're in a relationship with. Maybe they said unkind things. Maybe you had a bad instance at work. Maybe you're stressing over something to do with your family or your children or something that you just can't control. And at some point, you find yourself, there you are. You're eating, right? You're eating and hating yourself at that very moment, and you just keep eating. And of course, the trick is you have to drink water too, or else it's excruciatingly painful. So you find yourself doing it, and even if you try to stop, even if you stop early on, it's coming back. It's coming back up, and you know it is. So you drink the water, and you sit down, and you probably, say some bad words or cry a few tears because you know what's coming. And it's awful. So something that you have no control over is the cause of the battle with something that you have no control over. Something that The bulimia you can't control is now the vehicle that you're letting take over. Well, you, in some cases, don't have any choice, but it takes you over so that you can escape the things that you couldn't control. And the irony is just so thick there, we just don't even have to address that specifically, do we, at this point? The capitulation is the worst part for me. Your body scrambles to find out what's wrong. And your brain is telling your body, what you're telling your brain is that, basically you're telling your brain, I'm not good enough, I'm ugly, I deserve to be punished, whatever you're telling your brain. I did wrong, I don't deserve, I didn't get that promotion, or I didn't get this affirmation from this person, or I didn't get response, or what have you. It's because I'm not good enough. And I can fool myself for a while and I think that I'm good enough, but I'm really, really not. And then those deep-seated things that you have told your brain all this time, they come back, they come back, they come back, and then all of a sudden there you are. So you're telling your brain does not differentiate true, false, lie, green, purple, red. Your brain listens to what you tell it. I need to be punished. And your brain says, okay then. And you capitulate, because what else are you going to do at this point? If this has been with you for any length of time, your body already knows what to do. It does not want the food. And if you're like me, it's going to eject what it does not want. Myth number 2, no one can know. I can hide it. Big, big, big myth. It's rather like the drunk guy that's trying to put air freshener in his mustache at the end of the night, so in case he gets pulled over, the cop won't smell beer on him. It's the same thing, and I hate to use kind of a baser analogy there, but that's what it is. You can do like I do. You carry gum or breath mints, in my case, small bottles of mouthwash, body spray, scented soap in the bathroom, so that when you're done drying your hands, there's still a little moisture. You can tap your face so your face doesn't smell, And actually, while I was saying that, I just did that. Because you don't want anybody to smell that you've just been very sick. And there is a smell from that. It's rather like if you're the sober, driver, and everybody around you's drinking beer, you can smell the beer pretty heavy. But if you're in there drinking with them, you can't smell it. Well, people at your work, people in your house, the people at the party, wherever you are, they're going to smell it. So you have all these things, right? You have all these things that you think that are going to keep people from knowing. Here's the deal. That's false. Anyone that spends any time with you knows what's going on. I promise you they do. They may be kind enough not to say anything because they're afraid of hurting your feelings or upsetting you, but they know. Okay? It's not hard to tell when someone tries to fit in and eat at the table and they drink 7 glasses of tea and then excuse themselves right after dinner. That's pretty obvious. Swollen eyes from vomiting, shaky hands, dizzy spells. You come back and no matter how you've doctored your face, I'm sorry, you've got a pale face. And it takes its toll around your eyes and your skin on your face. And I don't care how old you are. I'm in my 50s, but this happened and began happening and got worse in my 30s. And I'm telling you, it's visible. You may have dizzy spells afterwards. I know that I did. And if you're like me, I didn't put this on the slide, but I had hypoglycemia. That's one of the best ways to trigger hypoglycemia. Blood sugar drops. And I'll get into this in the next segment. Woke up in the floor more than one time. And then there's those, like I say, the breath mints and all of that you do to hide the smell. It's you telling your brain that no one knows, and you can trick yourself into knowing that for the time that you need to know it. But just look at the top word there. That is false, and it's BS. And so you've got to stop and sit down and go, okay, let's think this through. The effects on your body, that should be a big, big deal. Dental issues, you may already know by now if you've had bulimia for any length of time. It took several years, actually took quite a few years. My teeth were in very good shape. Took quite a few years before I started noticing the deterioration of the backs. Your teeth will be discolored. They may even actually change shape, which will change the look of your smile and your mouth. dry mouth and lips for no reason. Um, and you'll find that you will always be aware of your breath. No matter how much you brush your teeth and gargle, you're going to be aware of your breath. Also, and I didn't put this on the slide either, you're going to have a sore throat quite often, and that leads to the acid reflux. And the next thing, damage to your esophagus cannot be avoided. It's there. I don't care who you are and how long you've been doing this and how much water you drank. You have damaged your esophagus, and hopefully you're not bleeding from it. That's something professionals, doctors can help you with. Be very choosy about your medicine because the side effects from some of these medicines can be actually worse on you because of your bulimia, and the heart failure you see on the right is the biggest reason why I took something briefly for esophageal problems and then read the fine print, and I couldn't risk putting my heart at more risk than I already had been after 10 or 12 years. So I stopped taking the medicine. There are plenty of natural things you can investigate and plenty of things you can do, but I would, if you have acid reflux and esophageal damage, I would encourage you to seek medical attention for that and talk to your physician about it and be very candid. Find a physician that you trust. Heart failure is the scariest of the three. If you've had this disease for any length of time, you may have already done some kind of damage, and it's not something you want to play around with, but the healing, it's never too late for you to start healing from this. Do bulimics recover? It sounds gloomy and doomy, but yes, and statistically, you're seeing that in purple there, statistically 50% recover within 10 years of diagnosis. 30% of those will relapse. Well, what about the people who are undiagnosed? And by that I mean people who didn't get an official diagnosis from a doctor on paper in a medical file. I'm like that. So how many more women and men? I mean, this is not just a women's disease, although primarily you hear more about it with women, but men have it too. How many of you are undiagnosed, haven't been to the doctor, don't want to talk about it, don't want to acknowledge that it's there, because then that's going to take some work, and what if I can't do it? What if I can't heal from this? What if I can't beat it? Well, you can. I mean, it's going to be a process. It's not going to be a quick fix, just like your weight issue wasn't a quick fix, and anything else that was worth your life, your time, your self-esteem is not going to be a quick fix, but it's very recoverable. I don't like the 50% recovery thing. That's one of the reasons I'm doing this video. I don't like that statistic. I think that percentage needs to be way higher. And so hopefully people like me, people like you, will take the baton and run with that and make the awareness there. You can really heal yourself from this condition. Physical effects notwithstanding, you can heal yourself from this, and we're going to talk about it in the next segment. You had the power all along, and I want you to write that down. I had the power all along. Keep it, say it to yourself, because the brain in your head is so powerful, and your body is already designed to heal itself. You have, and we're going to learn some skills to do this in the next segment, but I want you to understand that you have the power to take back control of something that's killing you. And you have to understand that now. You have the power. Okay? You just have to be willing. That's all it takes. All right, so that's it for now. For this segment, I'm going to be right back, and we're going to talk about some positives. See you in a minute.
Okay, welcome back. Honestly, I'll be honest with you, this is take number like 3 or 4. Sharing my story is kind of hard. But the previous segment, I want you to keep in mind those statistics. If you have not been diagnosed, then you're not involved in those statistics. 50% of diagnosed bulimics recover. 30% of them relapse. So to relapse does not mean that it's over for you, that you're a loser. So just, I thought that for years. That if I relapse, just like, oh, I'm just never going to get rid of this, and I'm such a loser, and I can't control myself. That's not the case. It's just, all it means is that there are some tools that you need that you don't have to manage this. If we can manage our stress and we can manage our thought patterns, then we can manage so much, right? And I can tell you this before I tell you the little bit of my story, is that what we tell our brain, I've said this in previous videos, we tell our brain is everything. We tell our brain that we're not enough, that we suck, that we didn't do it right today, or that somebody, is upset with us, or whatever it can cause. And you know what your triggers are. So if we know what our triggers are, then that by definition means we should know how to say things to the brain that will offset the triggers. Doesn't that make sense? I'm managing my triggers much better these days. Now, 22 years that's how long I've dealt with bulimia nervosa. It started with me in 99. Didn't know that's what it was until, wow, I don't know, about 2005, 6? Yeah. And by then I had gotten out of the first marriage, been out on my own for a bit, lost 134 pounds. I think it was 134 pounds. I went from 284, terrified, prisoner of war, as it were, to 139 pounds. And I was underweight and kind of, teetering. It was bad. And I did that in an 18, 19-month span. All while raising kids and trying to keep the patina of perfection across the top of my life. It's ridiculous. It's like I said before, people knew something was wrong with me. They might not have known it was bulimia nervosa, but I thought I had anorexia. But they put their own name on it. It's obvious something's wrong with you. Some people were kind enough not to say anything. Some people were concerned. Some people were cruel. But the person that has to bring you to the safe zone is you. Now, let's back up just a second. Bulimia nervosa is not just the binging and purging. It's restrictive food. It's anything else that you do, excessive exercise, laxative abuse, whatever. I used to do all of that. And we went through in the previous segment some of the lasting effects. Well, one of the lasting effects I didn't go over in that previous segment, and I'll tell you this honestly, is the emotional, when you do eat, even if you're sitting down to a normal, what you consider a normal meal, it's not too much, you already know, you've made the plan. And then for whatever reason, you're stressing over something, maybe it's subconscious, whatever, your stomach, if you don't stop before the full line, you know it's going to come back up. But that's just me. I've been like that for many years. If I'm really, really upset or backed into a corner, something really stressful happens, and usually it's something involving myself. I'm not talking about family crisis where somebody's sick or going to the hospital or, God forbid, somebody dies. Those kind of crises I handle perfectly. These are crises concerning how I see myself. That's when my triggers happen. Is that the case for you? It's something about those instances that trigger these bad feelings about yourself. Oh, there it is again. I'm still a loser. I'm still not enough. I'm still a dork. I'm still fat. I'm still whatever. Fill in the blank. I have experienced in my life, being thought of as not as intelligent because I was heavy, and then super intelligent because I weighed 139 pounds, and according to some people, I had great legs. I probably did. I know I looked good in a miniskirt back then. But people didn't stop to find out if I was smart. They just assumed I was because I had on a nice skirt and a pair of heels. Must mean I'm smart. And that's when I kind of went through a bad time. It's like, are people really that shallow? Yeah, most people are. But what it comes down to is who you surround yourself with. And what saved me was I surrounded myself kind of accidentally with people who weren't like that. I took a job with two extraordinary women who knew something was wrong with me. And they never said it. But they were encouraging and fun, and I learned from them, both of them older than me, a mother and daughter. My best friend of the two was the mom. And And I began to heal, you know. Met my second husband, and through a lot of turmoil in this relationship. And I don't think he'd mind me saying that there has been a lot of turmoil in this relationship, brought on by ourselves. It's just the two of us, you know, it's what it is, and issues we hadn't dealt with. And I took the blame because I thought, well, you know, I gave him a way out before we got married. I told him what the deal was, 139 pounds, I'm abusing laxatives. I was up to 9 laxatives a day. 9 a day. I stopped at 9 because I thought once I hit 10 that it would just explode from there and I wouldn't be able to control it, which was so stupid. I couldn't control it then. And what I didn't realize at the time was that my body couldn't function without them. That came later. But I mean, I was up front with them. I wanted him to know what he was getting, you know, before we got into the engaged, you know, section of the relationship. And I wouldn't have blamed him if he had bolted, you know. In fact, I think, honestly, I told him that just so he would. So I could feel justified. That sounds retarded when I say it out loud. Did it sound retarded to you? It sounds retarded to me. So I could feel justified. Well, you know, he left me because of something to do with how I look. And it had nothing to do with how I looked. It had to do with, wow, that's a truckload of shit you're dragging from your childhood. You know, always being the fat kid, always being bullied, always having well-meaning people take this off your plate and put that on your plate. And, you know, it's a shame that you can't be like your sister. It's a shame that you have such a pretty face, or it's a shame that this and this because you're so, you know. And I mean, let's be honest. I was never enormous until the end, until I started with the bulimia. When I was a kid, I was chubby. It's not against the law to be chubby. It's not even the worst thing in the world to be chubby. And no, I'm not blaming my parents, not in the least. I was bullied by other kids. And in some instances by other adults, 1 or 2 in the extended family. Not my parents. But being made to feel like I was less than my siblings or other children, that there was something inherently wrong with me. That's what I felt like as a kid. There's something inherently wrong with me. I didn't really feel like it was my fault. But I was made to feel, even by teachers sometimes, there was something inherently different about me. And because of that, there was something inherently wrong with me. And the other kids were not, you know, I'm not like the other kids. That's a hell of a thing for a child to carry. And it's something that it took a long time to get rid of. Even when I was in my 20s and raising a family and married to a guy who didn't care what size I was. And that was like the best thing about that relationship is he didn't put parameters on how I looked. He was happy with however I looked. And even in my 20s and with children, I'd see looks. If somebody would look at me and have a certain look on their face, and I would automatically assume that they were just disapproving. Oh, well, you know, she's got 2 kids and she's fat. You know, Southern ideal, you know, Southern women, they just have kids and blow up like big balloons. And I mean, all of these prejudices that I had heard, I'm now projecting into my own brain. And the person could have been looking at me and completely, have you ever looked at somebody and not realize you're looking at them because you're so in this thought process, like I'm trying to figure out, is my bank balance right? And you realize you're staring at some guy. Has that ever happened? I mean, these people could have been thinking anything. How conceited, inverted conceited is it for me to assume that they're judging me without having given them the benefit of saying anything? Yeah, I was doing the same thing that they were doing to me. If they were judging me, they were judging me and I hadn't opened my mouth. No idea who I was. And the irony wasn't lost on me back then, but I wasn't far enough along in life and experience, and I didn't have the tools to deal with it. So I had to get them because I wanted to teach my kids the right things. But I was asked one time, I don't know, my son was maybe 2, and I was asked when my baby was due. Yeah, that was embarrassing. And it made me mad, and it upset me. And So, I mean, things like that stick with you. So you get, even though the things dull and they move back and they're not always in your mind, I don't carry those things right in the forefront of my mind. But the thing is still there, that how you look is how you're perceived. Women who are heavy are generally automatically perceived as less intelligent, less organized, less, I don't know, everything. You get to know them, some of them fantastic people. And I've known heavy women, and I always thought, oh, if I could carry that, they're so pretty, they're so together, they wear the nice clothes, their hair looks perfect. Why do I look like shit and they don't, you know? And they might have been thinking the same thing, I don't know. But when I was very, very thin, you know, not just, you know, interest from the opposite sex, and actually a couple from the same sex, but people just assumed I was smarter. Dressed in a skirt and a blouse and heels, they assume you run the place. No, I don't run the place. More than once I was mistaken for someone who ran a restaurant and I was just eating there, you know. They assume you're smarter because you're crisp and well put together, and that's been the thing for decades. And that's what I grew up with. If you don't look like this, then you're not the norm. And what I had preached to my kids was, there is no norm. There's no norm. There's only who you are and how you feel, what you're, you know, how you feel in your own skin. My family, on one side, I take after the paternal side. We fight with our weight. It's a thing, you know, but it doesn't diminish us as people. I don't see other people as diminished if they're carrying some extra weight. But I internalized that and beat myself up over it. And I found what I was doing was punishing the only vessel I have to get through this life. I was punishing that body for not being right, for being weird, for being, you know, all of the things that were told to me. Why am I like this and nobody else is? And what I failed to understand at the time was, everybody feels that way to some degree. Well, not everybody, but most people feel that way to some degree. They feel different for some reason or the other. Mine was weight. So here I damn near killed myself with an eating disorder that I didn't mean to take on. I mean, it didn't start off that way. Did it for you? It didn't for me. It started off with withholding food. I didn't ever think of it becoming a thing. I just knew I needed to stop eating. 284 pounds put me in orbit. I was terrified. Like, I was more terrified of that than of somebody breaking into my house. Weeks and weeks passed, and I passed out a couple of times, but then your body adjusts and your brain chemistry adjusts and your body gets used to eating itself and you go on with life. And that's what my body was doing. Muscle, fat, everything, you know, it was eating itself. I made jokes about it. I did. I was 33. I had been told I had cancer and then told, oh, wait, no, you don't. Sorry, we were wrong. Have a nice day. And that was just the cake topper for a whole lot of other stuff I'm not going to get into, but things that were scaring me, things that were quickly leaving the zone of anything I had any control over. Not to do with me necessarily. But. And so what I thought I was doing was taking control of something that only I could control. Ever potty trained a child? That's the one thing they do that you can't control. It's kind of the reverse for me. And that it was one thing I can control, and nobody could stop me. And nobody could know, oh my God, the secrecy, you know, I discussed in the previous thing, all the little things you do, the tricks and the whatever, and it's all ridiculous because people know, people that care about you, people that spend any time around you, they know. And it doesn't really matter what they think. It matters what you think. And so I came to a point where for a while I went without any incidents. I came to a point where I was just tired of it all. And I needed to feel better about me. And so I started surrounding myself with better people. People that were supportive. Now, I'm not talking about my family. Oh, I have the most wonderful family. I'm talking about outside of that. When I say surrounding myself, I mean my family is way up here and I love them and they're great. I mean other people. And negative people just didn't have a place. People that weren't positive or supportive or accepting or whatever, for whatever reason. If I felt like they were judgy or crappy or whatever, I just didn't hang around with them. And that made a change. And the positive, supportive people saw the positive and cool things about me, and I started to see them. So that's the first step, is look at who you're surrounding yourself with. If you're in the throes of a depression over this, then you probably need some people around you that are more supportive. I'm going to teach you a breathing technique here in just a minute. And yeah, I know everybody says, oh, breathing techniques and blah, blah. Yeah, but if you actually apply it, it's actually pretty cool, and it works. I used to have anxiety attacks. I don't have them anymore. And I'm going to put a link in the description for you to look up Marissa Peer. I got to find the video and put the link in the description, but there's an exercise that I did through one of her videos that I had to put comments. I even wrote to her how much it helped me to release some of this shit I've been carrying around for years, and I've started getting better. The other thing I want you to do is think about, if you've looked at some of the vlog videos I've been doing, paying attention to nutrition, putting some exercise and some discipline into my routine, making sure I'm getting sleep, controlling and scheduling what I'm eating, when I'm eating. That's the control you need right there. You want to be putting as much good stuff into that schedule as possible. I'm doing intermittent fasting, which so far, I mean, I'm not dropping a ton of weight. I used to drop 10 pounds a week. I haven't been able to drop 5 pounds in 3 weeks, but that's my body. I'm in menopause. I've done a lot of damage. I cannot expect my body to go, oh yay, we're going to lose some weight and just have it drop off. I can't expect that at first. It's a process. So I'm having to make these changes and stick to them. For months now, I've been getting up and doing a morning routine. And like I said, if you watch the videos, you know, I rehabbed a back injury. I've got a chronic hip issue. But I get up every morning, I do the physical things. And I'm getting back into the yoga as much as I can do at this point. But I'm walking, doing the things that make me feel better, that get my body moving. And then I'm adding in good things that are good for my body. And you know what I'm finding? It didn't take but 21 days to make that habit, 21 days. But I was finding early on that I just don't want some of the same foods I used to want. I mean, I'll get like tired and cranky and I want something cheesy. And then I'll start to go through my mind, well, I could order pizza. No, I don't really want that. That's my stomach will say, no, please don't give me that. I want this. I want tacos. And I'll go through all the things that used to be my comfort foods. And 99 times out of 100, I don't want them. And I'll go, well, how about some cheese and crackers and some cantaloupe or watermelon? That's going to make me happy. And I'm going to feel good after I eat it. So you'll just, I mean, please try this. It works. And I like to say, find you a good protein powder. I put a couple of links out. I'm trying a new one. Put a couple of links out in my last blog video. But go through and look and see. I went on Amazon and just did some reading and figured out what I wanted to try. I promise you, even if not a meal replacement so much as just a supplement, you can drink the protein shake between your snack meals, whatever. Keep your body going and be kind. And in the morning when you sit and you maybe have a cup of coffee, whatever, close your eyes, do your up and down breathing, in and out, do at least 10 with a quiet. And as you're breathing out, make sure that you're visualizing breathing out any toxic crap, breathe in. And then just kind of hold it and breathe out the toxic crap. And while you're doing that, say good things to your brain. Say good things to your brain. I can't wait to try this. I'm going to be doing this today. It's going to feel good. At the end of the day, I'm not going to feel like shit. Whatever you need to say to your brain. Say the good things and get started. Get started doing something positive for you. And I promise, if you will force yourself, write it down what you're going to do. Write down your schedule. If I'm going to have the protein shake before I leave for work. Maybe have one before lunch. Start taking your lunch or start paying more attention to what you order out. I don't really even want fried stuff anymore. I mean, I'm just not eating it. Although cheeseburgers are still a thing. If they're grilled, they're not terrible for you. And God, cheeseburgers. But anyway, take control of it the right way. Write it down. Make a plan and stick to it. And I promise you, my hand to God, if you'll stick to a plan for 21 days, even if you have to tweak the plan as you go, you've got a new habit and you're on your way. And the whole time that you're doing this plan and you're tweaking this plan, You say things to yourself. Talk to yourself. I've said this in previous videos. Say things. I talk to myself in the car after I pray. Now, my higher power is God, and I pray every morning. I also have some meditation and visualization things that I do for other people. Maybe somebody that I know that's sick. Maybe somebody I know that's having a hard time. I find that focusing out on helping other people, even if it's in a meditation or what have you, focusing out my energy, because that's what I want to do, is help other people, then it makes it a joy to sit down and schedule my things and to do the things that feel healthy for me, because then I feel better. And then I come off as a much better influence, or a much better able to help the people that I'm trying to help, right? And it sounds very Pollyanna, but it's absolutely not. It's got to be a shift in your thinking. You've got to think about yourself as an important vessel that is full of so much good things. It's so many good things that need to be shared. Perhaps you're a bulimic whose story needs to be shared. Share it. Talk to someone. You could save someone's life. Get the dark thing out in the open, right? If it helps you, sit down, and this is a good exercise. I'm going to teach you this exercise. So just sit down in a dim room and by yourself, piece of paper, pencil, small light, not a big light. Now you don't want, I don't care if you look out the window. I don't care where you look. Just don't look at the paper. Look up, close your eyes, whatever, and start writing. Go into that room with the picture in your mind of all the that's in your head that's causing this, that you're frustrated about with your bulimia. This is not a cure. You hear me? It's not a cure, but it's going to help you. Sit down and just write. And you'll think about the first 2 to 3 words. After that, your mind is going to start wandering, and you're writing, and you're writing, and you're writing, and you're writing. And if you want to think about it and write a specific sentence, fine. But write until there's nothing else to come out of you. Until you're done. If it's 3 pages, 1 page, 5 page. And then don't look at it. Put the pencil down, fold the paper up, don't look at it, fold it again, fold it again. Find a place outside, a grill, whatever, fire pit, and burn it. Set it there, light it on fire with the thought, your energy and thought is on that paper. You don't know what you wrote, but you know that all your energy went into that writing, and it's in that paper. And as you watch it burn and you watch it billow up, or ash up, or whatever, you breathe in and out and you let it go. Get it out of you and onto that paper, and then give it back to the universe and let it go. You may have to do this more than once. It might be a couple months down the road you need to do it again. That's okay. That's okay. It doesn't mean you didn't do it right. It means you're progressing, right? Progress is it. We want to progress. We want to progress forward, not backward. You can do this. If I can do this, anybody can do this. And it's easy to slide back and go, it was just easier when I didn't have to think, and I'm just really not worth it. And I'm just going to go back to doing what I was doing. No, ma'am. No, sir. I promise you, if you will take charge for 21 days, right? For 21 days, do the meditation I just told you with the writing. Sit down in the morning and do some breathing in and out while you're clearing your mind and visualizing whatever you need to visualize, sweeping out, clearing the decks, whatever. Take those moments and then make sure you're focusing out. You focus out on how seeing opportunities to help other people, right? Do those things, and then take charge of what you're doing during the day with your food. I'm telling you, it changes everything. Do it for 21 days. It's going to change how you start to see it here. Start listening to what you're saying to your brain and change it. Change it one thing at a time. It's not all going to happen in a day. It's not all going to happen in a day, but you can heal. And these are things that you can do on your own. And I'll be back with more. As I learn, I'm going to teach it to you. I'm going to put some links in the description for you guys, okay? But I'm adamant about this. I want you to heal. I want you to try. And if you will commit to loving yourself enough to do this for 21 days, I promise you it'll make a difference. Now, that's it for today. Thank you for hanging with me. Much love from me. I hope that the story wasn't too scattered, and I hope that it touched somebody in some way. Please hit subscribe, hit the bell, share with somebody if you think they need it, and I'll see you on the next one. Take good care.